So I'm talking about a book that I read 2 months ago. And I didn't think I would like, but I actually quite enjoyed it. When I was in school, I did a history trip to Germany. And I went to Dachau concentration camp. We did a history trip about the rise of the Nazis, the rule of the Nazis, and the fall of the Nazis, and how Germany denazified so quickly, and at first didn't acknowledge what had happened, and then slowly came to acknowledge what had happened. And we went to Dachau concentration camp. Dachau was the first camp of its kind, and the feeling of walking around there it's hard to explain. If you've ever been to a history site where many people were killed in horrible, torturous ways, you'll know the feeling I'm talking about. It's like walking through mud. It feels hard. It feels impossible in its own way, because right at that moment where you're there, nothing is happening. The place is peaceful, almost. But 70 years ago, or for me at that time it was 60 years ago or so, it wasn't. It was a place of unimaginable suffering and a place of unimaginable death and unimaginable torture. The book I'm going to talk about is about Auschwitz-Birkenau, and it's called The Auschwitz Protocol by Jack Carnegie. And I have always been very interested in the dark side of humans, the dark side of psychology, the dark side of why we do things, because that was my degree, something I've always been interested in. And the Holocaust and other genocides have always been interesting to me, to find out how as a people we do this. How as a people we get to that level. This book is not so much about what happened during the time of Auschwitz-Birkenau, although it hints and does talk a bit, but the consequences years later. And it follows Emil, who is a retired detective who was at Auschwitz-Birkenau, and he survived. And it talks about him tracking down 6 people that were never, I think it's 6 or 7. No, it's less than that. I think it's 5 or 6. 5 to 6 people who were never brought to justice. And it tells you kind of how Emil knew them in some sense of the word. And it tells you what they did. And it's a dark book. It can be a very dark book, but I think it's also very eye-opening in its own sense. And it talks about what happened at that time. It talks about what people went through. And at first, the first kind of opening is Emil and his wife at Auschwitz, in Auschwitz-Birkenau. And they're visiting, and Emil doesn't know what to say, because he hasn't told his wife. His wife doesn't know what happened to him during the war. And he talks about how he coped, and in the book, he talks about how he copes. He talks about how he got on with life after the war, and how he met his wife, and he had his kids, and everything that happened. And the book is beautiful. And I'm glad I read it. Because it's a different take on that part of history. So I highly recommend it. It's on Kindle. When I got it, it was free because I got it with BookBub, but I don't know if it's still free today. So definitely check it out. I have said before, I have about 1,000 books on my Kindle. I have paid for maybe 10 of them, maybe 20 of them at most. And I get most of my books through something called BookBub. which is like a daily email of the genres I like, and it tells me deals, and sometimes there's free books on it, so I just download the free books because I'm like, they're free, I don't need to worry about paying for them. So if I don't like them, I didn't waste money on them, kind of thing. Whereas like if I've enjoyed a book, I normally get it on my Kindle afterwards. So definitely, like, if you can get it, it's definitely worth it. I think even if it's not free, I think it's quite a cheap book. So definitely read it. It's a really good book and it really takes you on a journey. So 100% I recommend it. Let me know what you're reading currently down in the comments, and enjoy reading, and I'll talk to you soon.